Good morning. My name's Jason McCarter. I'm the Executive Chef and Program Manager for the New Hampshire Food Bank's Recipe for Success program. I'm really happy to be here today to share one of my favorite sandwiches with you and hopefully teach you a little bit about making it. So stay tuned. One of the first things we're going to do is make some aromatics. This sandwich is lovely all on its own, but if you could make it just a little bit more aromatic, it's just so fantastic. So we're going to use some thyme and some rosemary. Now you could do this in the microwave if you chose, or you could do it in a pot like I'm going to do here because I don't have a microwave in my outdoor kitchen. And we're going to put some honey in here, all right, just enough so that when we heat it up, all of those herbs are going to just rest in there and make that honey absolutely delicious. We're going to use this one of the final steps of this sandwich, so I'm going to go put it on the burner and I'll be right back. While that honey is heating up, you don't have to boil it, you just have to get it up to maybe a simmer and just let it relax for a little while, all right? While that's going on, we're going to talk about bread. Bread for a grilled cheese sandwich is so important. Get rid of that Wonder Bread in your cupboard. Get some nice artisan style bread. This is a ciabatta loaf. You could get it pre-sliced if you wanted, but I just like slicing my own. And if you really want to get big slices out of it, I'm going to put it up here like this. And I'm going to do a couple diagonal slices. Look at all those nooks and crannies in there. This is going to make such a lovely sandwich. And you can use all of the other ends from this. I have a bag going in my freezer that we use whenever I want to make some little croutons or crostinis. Look at that. Look at that piece of bread right there. That is lovely. Next up is one of the craziest parts about this sandwich. It's the cheese you choose to use. No more of that sliced American stuff for me. I'm only going with nice cheeses from now on, and this is what we've chosen for this. This is a brie. Brie is a soft cow's milk cheese, and the question I get most often is all of this white stuff on here, can we eat that? Absolutely. When brie is made, it's really soft. They pour it into this paper liner or cloth liner. They inoculate it with some penicillin, and then this soft white stuff forms on here, and through the process they pat it down several times. So this is basically a really safe mold for you to eat, and it gives this cheese a nice earthiness. And earthiness we attribute to one of those flavors that our tongue gets, and that's umami, the umami flavor. And it's sometimes hard to get with different ingredients. You definitely get some umami with this cheese, and it makes a wonderful selection. The other cheese we're going to use is a little bit of cheddar. Now, if you are lactose intolerant, you probably already know this, but for the rest of the world to hear, you most likely can eat a nice sharp cheddar cheese. That cheddar doesn't have any lactose in it, and so you're safe to go. And you might have other issues why you can't have dairy, and so I am not a doctor, so don't take my advice. But I'll tell you, this cheese is wonderful when you heat it up. It gets ooey and gooey and just spills out, and it's just lovely. It's also a little hard to handle. So what I did, because I'm gonna slice it, is I put it in the freezer for about 10 minutes just to firm it up. And you can see here that I can make some really nice clean slices. They're going to be a lot easier to handle when building my sandwich. Alright, there's our brie. Put it together like that nicely. We're also going to use a little sharp cheddar. For those of you that might be gluten intolerant, I was going to make you some arepas today. That would be a great vehicle for this. However, I didn't have any of the arepa flour that I needed to do that. So, here we go. So we have two different types of cheeses. Next up is a little bit of bacon. Now you can use bacon. You could use prosciutto ham. Prosciutto ham I would love to put on this sandwich. But in my refrigerator I had some of this triple smoked bacon from a deli down in Saugus, Massachusetts, and I've been looking for ways to use it up in tasty victuals. So this is what we got today. And then your choice of apples. So we've got Honeycrisp apples and Granny Smith apples. I think I'm going to use a Honeycrisp today in this, and so we just want to slice up some of that Honeycrisp. I don't peel it. And we're going to go this way. That's enough apple for us here. And if you wanted to preserve the rest of that apple, just go ahead and put it in a little bag, squirt a little lemon juice or some lime juice on it, maybe a piece of paper towel in there. And finally, some mustard. Whole grain Dijon mustard is the best for this. It's got just a nice spice to it. Don't use that yellow stuff. That yellow stuff is for hot dogs and bologna and should never be used in something like this. All right, we're going to move all of this over the stove. And I'll be right back. All right, we're over on the stove now, and it's time to start building our sandwich. Now, the really big part about this is making sure that you are using the right kind of pan. A heavy skillet, cast iron skillet, heavy frying pan is best. If you have non-stick, that's fantastic. And not to cook this too fast. So it's always important to preheat your appliances before you use them. So I'm just going to touch this here, because I do this a lot, and I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. You don't want this on fire. If it sizzles like an employee that didn't get their paycheck on Friday, then you've got it too hot, all right? So you just got to turn it down. So we're going to spread some butter generously here on one side of the bread. Let's see, we wanted it to go like this, right? Yeah, so we'll do on this side of the bread. Go ahead and put that down. All right, don't move that butter too far because we're going to need it again, okay? Next up is some whole grain mustard. All right. If you really like mustard, then lather this on. Go. Now I'm going to put my brie on one side here. There we go. And I'm going to put my cheddar on the other. I'm going to throw that bacon right in with that cheddar. Now, you don't need a lot. You know, no one needs to get a heart attack from eating a grilled cheese sandwich. We are going to use plenty of butter here. But it's that salty kiss that goes along with this creamy cheese and the sweet apples and the spicy mustard. You're just hitting all of the different flavor profiles that your tongue can taste. Next, we're going to layer on these apples. Now, you could cut these apples nice and thick. I like them nice and thin. They tend to heat up a little bit more in this sandwich this way and become more pliable, so when you take a bite out of it, it doesn't come crunching down all over you. All right, that's plenty. We're just going to give it a little press to make sure that all of that is reaching the griddle. All right, now it's really important that we flip this with some care and caution, but you can tell by looking underneath, we haven't really started browning yet, which is perfect, all right? So we're gonna flip this over, give it a little bit of a press, tuck things back inside if you need to. At this point, I think we're gonna turn it up just a little bit. You have to be patient with this sandwich. You want that heat, see how thick that is? You want that heat getting through everything, and if you just turn it up high right from the get-go, you're never going to be able to brown it so that it's nice and crispy and have the cheese all nice and ooey. And I'm sure we've all done that. We've walked away from the pan and we have a little bit of a dark grilled cheese that's very gooey and tender on the inside. So we're going to flip this sandwich maybe 2 or 3 times to get that heat to go all the way through there. It's worth the time and effort. Once you bite into this, it is very much worth the time and effort. So why do things taste better when we toast them? There's actually a scientific thing that's going on here, and when you see this little brown bits here, this is called the Maillard reaction, and it's when the amino acids and sugars brown and they take on a new characteristic of flavor. So that is why when you put a burger or a steak on the grill and you get those great grill marks, why it tastes so much better. Or a big roast beef, you know, the outside always tastes better than the inside. It's because of that Maillard reaction, and it happens on any food that browns. It's the same thing that happens, or the same scientific reaction. So we want to take great care to create as much of that as possible because it's changing the flavor of the bread. And in this case, it's also given us a wonderful texture of this nice crunchy bite when we bite into it. So we're going to see how the other side's doing. We're going to flip this again. There we go. And we're doing all right here. This bread really took on the butter pretty nicely. I don't know if I'm going to have to go back over it with more butter, and because more butter is always better, but it is pretty saturated, so I think we're going to let it go for now. But we're going to do this 2 or 3 times, flipping it back and forth so it doesn't get too brown, but we continue to create that Maillard reaction to create more texture and more flavor. So I lied. I am going to use a little bit more butter. The sandwich is coming along nicely. We're just going to smear just a little bit more on here before this next flip. This is going to ensure that this thing crisps up beautifully. Don't need too much. That's giving us a little bit of that fried effect on that layer. And you see I put my honey back here. Can you see that in the pot? I just put it on here on the back of my burner just to stay warm so it stays fluid. If you leave it cool off after you heat it up, it'll turn pretty thick on you and it'll be hard to drizzle how we're going to drizzle it. Some people like to actually make enough of this that you can dunk your sandwich into it. Alright folks, I've given it its last flip. That cheese is nice and gooey in there, and we are going to transfer it over to the cutting board and cut into this baby to see what it looks like on the inside. Alright, here we go. This, you can hear that texture in there. We're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Alright, salt and pepper is great even on bread. You don't need a lot of salt, just a little bit, little accents. Never hurt anything. Don't tell your doctor I said that. And now we're going to cut into this. So it doesn't matter what shape you do. In fact, with such a nice large sandwich like this, I might cut it into some weird pieces like this. Look at how lovely that looks in there, huh? All nice and gooey. I bought some of my favorite chips. You could use chips. You could put pickles with this. You could put pepperoncinis would be lovely with this. Cashews would be lovely. Let's see here. And for the final touch, I'm going to put this right up here like this. For the final touch, we're going to drizzle. All right, We're going to drizzle some of this lovely honey on here. You don't need too much. Probably only put a little bit. I do this with maple syrup too. In fact, I almost always have some herbed maple syrup going on in my cupboards. My kids expect it, so I have to have it now. And that is our beautiful sandwich. I'm going to crunch into it in just a minute. Well, here we have it, the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich. We've got all the wonderful textures going in there. We've got all of the different flavor concepts going in there with the creamy and the crunchy and the salty and the umami effect and the sweet from the apples and the honey. So I'm going to bite into this and it's going to be lovely, and I hope you're biting into it at home while you're on break with this conference that you're at. So have a great conference. I hope you enjoy the sandwich and peace.